Hello, I'm Gemma and this is Non-Fic Books. It's been a while. Two kids, chaos, so hopefully I'm just going to crack on because if I don't start making videos again, I never am going to, so I'm just going to choose the books, some of the books that I've been reading recently and make a video about it, because if not, I'm never going to make videos again and I really enjoy it, so hopefully this is the start of me being back, but I'm sure I said that before. Just quick ones that this is a series that I had promised myself I wouldn't start until all of the books were out because I loved her other series, the Parasol Protectorate series before, and yeah, I couldn't wait. I waited till 3 books were out and the 4th one's coming out later this year, I believe, and that is Gail Carriger's series, and it's got Prudence, Imprudence and Competence, and they're fantastic. They are steampunk novels. Set in the Victorian era. There's a little bit of sort of fantasy and things like that. I love them. I love Gail Carriger. She's amazing. Again, she has a YouTube channel that I didn't realise, so I will link that down below. They're great. You probably know about Gail Carriger. Fantastic. Because everything is quite kidsy at the moment, I thought I'd mention a couple of kids' books. My eldest is not quite 3, and her favourite books at the moment are Summer by Shirley Hughes, and this is a little collection of beautifully illustrated poetry, which I really enjoy as well, so I love that she loves that. And we have the 4 seasons selection, so I tend to pull out seasonal books. It's very important to me that we sort of celebrate the seasons, celebrate the different sort of changing points in the year, and this is one of the books that we've been starting that off with this year. And so as it gets around to the autumn, we will introduce Shirley Hughes' Autumn, which I'm really, really looking forward to because I have absolutely loved this book. A classic, Eric Carle's The Very Hungry Caterpillar. I hadn't read this since I was relatively little. It's just so beautiful and brilliant. There's some counting, it's actually good about the life cycle of a caterpillar, and it's just really cute. She loves it, and she would just sit from morning till evening, either with me reading or with her playing in the mud. If she can do those 2 things every day, every second of every day, she would just be in heaven. So she's quite a little bookworm already, and almost gets to the point where I am fed up of reading. Her 2 sort of non-fiction favourites are the Usborne Peep Inside the Castle and the Usborne Peep Inside at Nighttime. These are my absolute favourite sort of Peep Inside books. They're definitely better for slightly older toddlers, sort of I would say 18 months onwards, because some of the flaps are quite small and there's a bit more information than in some of these books. And I love them. We have the whole set, but these 2, The Castle and Nighttime, are her particular favourites. So on to some of the non-fiction that I've been reading. I'll start with some of the physical books and then move on to the relevant audiobooks and e-books. So one of the first things I have read recently is The Lost Tools of Learning by Dorothy L. Anyone who knows me knows that I am a massive fan of Dorothy L. Her Peter Wimsey, Lord Peter Wimsey books are some of my just favourite crime novels, and if you haven't read them, go and read them. And if you're only going to read one, read Gaudy Night, because it's incredible. Really short little speech that she gave 1947, I believe. Yes, 1947 at Oxford. It's a speech she gave on what has been lost by moving away from a trivium-based education. And it's fantastic, it's incredible, and it led me on to reading The Well-Trained Mind, A Guide to Classical Education at Home by Susan Wise Bauer and Jessie Wise. This is fantastic. It is a sort of basically a sort of planning guide for classical home education. It was really, really interesting. I have it both in physical format and in audiobook. And yes, it was really interesting. Definitely gave me something to think about. And because I enjoyed that, I also picked up Susan Wise Bauer's The Story of the World. This is the first volume, Ancient Times from the Earliest Nomads to the Last Roman Empire. If you don't know these books, they are a series of 4 books with workbooks that go through the history of the world, And in the classical education model that she proposes, you go through world history 4 times over the 12 years of education. So you start off with like cartoons and myths and very easy reading sort of versions of world history, get more in depth, and then like by the time you are going through the 3rd cycle of it, you are reading the original texts. So you are actually reading the Iliad, you are reading the Odyssey, the Epic of Gilgamesh, things like that. And I don't particularly like her writing. I don't think it's the most enjoyable. I have yet, obviously my kids are currently a bit young for this, so I haven't actually read any of it aloud to them. We'll see in the future if they like any of it. But also we are a secular family and this has a very particular Christian bias. So it is not something that I will be reading from cover to cover to them, because there is a lot presented in here as fact that I will not be presenting to my children as fact. However, it's really, really great, and I know it's used as a spine for a lot of like home education curriculum, especially history wise, and I think you could do a lot with it. It's something I'm glad I have to sort of reference, but it certainly won't be what we would ever use as a spine if we were to go down a classical educational sort of route. Because I have been learning all about educating children, something that I've decided I definitely want to introduce my kids to is poetry, and yet I am not a massive... It's not that I'm not a massive fan, I know very little about poetry. I wasn't exposed to very much poetry growing up, and it was taught incredibly badly at my school, so I have started to introduce myself to poetry. And as you can see, I have lots of bookmarks in, and I've typed up the essays at the beginning, poems at the beginning of the book, which is why there's no poems there, and I still have to type up the ones at the end, because I'm putting together a sort of collection of ones that I love to try and get myself slightly more interested and knowledgeable about poetry. And Walter Delamere and Robert Frost are currently people that I didn't know I liked, who I actually do really quite like. Right, so onto the ebooks. We have Emily Cook's A Literary Education, adapting Charlotte Mason for modern secular homeschooling. Emily Cook, I will leave a link to her booktube channel below because she's fantastic. This is really interesting. Charlotte Mason was a Victorian educator who believed in using great books and nature to educate children, and this has definitely been really sort of thought-provoking for me. And she actually has put together her own curriculum, Build Your Own Library, which again I will link down below, which is not something we would ever follow exactly because they're American and we're based in the UK, and while in the UK you do not need to teach the national curriculum, I feel that it's something we want to keep in mind so that we always have the option, if we were to go down the homeschooling route, of being able to put them into school and we'll have taught the relevant sort of part of the UK curriculum. So because at the moment we have no idea what we're doing, so we're just trying to keep as many doors open as possible. Right, if I can actually get my Kindle to work. Oh well. iPad. This is something else that we've been looking at, and that is, or I've been looking at, building foundations of scientific understanding. One thing in many curriculum, the science isn't great for small children and is often not very systematic, so it sort of leaps around and doesn't build a really solid foundation and good understanding. That's where this book comes in. It's by Bernard J. Nebel, PhD, and so far it's actually, like, this isn't something that I would read from cover to cover. It's not that sort of book because it is more of a curriculum. And I'm currently going through the lessons and seeing if this is something that actually relates to anything we'd be interested in pursuing. Audiobooks wise, I've been listening mainly to Peter Wimsey stuff and the classical The Well-Educated Mind. The final book that I have to talk about, because I've already been talking for quite a long time, is Painting and Drawing in Waldorf Schools, classes 1 to 8. As you can see, I am going all over the place with sort of different ways of teaching because I know nothing about all sorts of different ways of teaching. So I've been coming across quite a lot of them. I also read a whole bunch of stuff on unschooling. It's all very interesting how you actually go about teaching children. And this is by Thomas Wildgruber. this is looking at how you teach painting and drawing and all sorts of other sort of arts. By the end of it, there's all sorts of different sort of actual manual arts as well as just the sort of painting and drawing in Waldorf schools. One thing I do really like from Waldorf Steiner education is the level of illustration and drawing that you do throughout school and the sort of making things beautiful and creative. I can't draw to save my life. Like, I just cannot draw a realistic stick man. So I'm actually going to go through this myself and see if I can learn to be slightly better at art. Because again, I would like, if we do go down a homeschooling route, to keep all sorts of avenues open to my children, not just pursue the things that I personally find interesting. Right, those are the books that I've been reading, or well, some of the books that I've been reading. I would love to know, in the basically year, let's just say that, I've made a few videos, but they were really sporadic. In the year, since I've actually managed to put together anything with any regularity, what have you been reading? What have I missed? Have there been some great books that you've been reading? Has there been... oh, just tell me all about the books in your life. And if you have any books that you think I would be interested in based on the books that I have discussed so far today, let me know. And I really, really do hope I will see you in a video soon. Bye!